Hello everyone! Have you heard about the Hunger Games? If not, then let's explore it together. Let's begin! This study aims to analyze and identify the techniques and procedure of translation used in 3 chapters, which are 4, 5 and 6 in the novel The Hunger Games. The English version is written by Susan Collins and was published in the year of 2011 in the United Kingdom. It consists of 454 pages. The Malay version is translated by Amy Hermina Natasha and published by Scholastic Malaysia in 2013. Compared to English version, Malay version consists of 325 pages. The importance of this study are: the first one, to learn the difference between culture through the use of language, and the second one, to improve reading and communication skills while being bilingual, and the third one, to improve the proficiency of lingua franca and foreign language among native speakers. So, the main purposes of the researchers doing a project on this topic are to analyze the technique and procedures of translation used from the source language SL to the target language TL. This study utilized the Hunger Games English novel and its Malay translation from chapter 4 to 6 as the material of the study. There are 4 researchers involved in this study. One of them has a hard copy of the English version while another one has a hard copy of Malay version. 2 of them capture the intended chapters used for the study from the hard copy and convert them into PDF form so that all researchers can have access to the same material. Then, after the researchers have read and analyzed the particular chapters, the translation procedures were then identified. And now we will moving on to the most awaited part, which is the synopsis of the Hunger Games. Let's go! The Hunger Games is an annual event in which one boy and one girl aged 12 to 18 from each of the districts are selected by lottery to compete in a televised battle royal to the death, until only one victor remains as a reminder to the past rebellion of a total 13 districts against the capital. After all tributes are put together in the arena, they are to fight with each other, and only just at the start of the game, nearly half of the tributes are killed in the bloodbath. On the reaping day of the 74th Hunger Game, Katniss' younger sister Primrose is reaped as the female tribute, which Katniss then volunteers to take her place. Meanwhile, Peeta Mellark is then reaped as the male tribute from their district. The novel ends with Katniss and Peeta on their train back to District 12, and from Katniss' point of view, she is shown to be confused about her own feelings towards Peeta and the uncertain future she will face in settling back to her life after the games. So that's all from me. Thank you for listening. Bye!
Translation allows literature to go beyond the limits, and it also allows every writer to express themselves across generations and cultures. So next, the purpose of translating the novels is to ensure that native speakers can read the book, as it will be much easier for them to read it in their own native language. So according to Learning Portal, humans learn best when the instructions or any reading materials are in their mother tongue. So more books in the native language suggest that more knowledge is available to the speakers. So other than that, another reason of translating the novel is because they wanted to expand their market worldwide, as stated by World Minds that it is a bonus in the publishing business if it is globally success. So translating the book in various languages eventually helped to promote and market the book across the nation. Next is the translation techniques or procedures. So in translating process, there are some techniques or procedures applied by the translators to transfer elements of meaning from the source language text to the target language text. So the first procedure is direct translation, which include literal translation, borrowing and also calque. So in this video, I will be explaining about literal translation and also calque. So the first one is literal translation, or also known as word-to-word translation. So for this technique, the translator needs to translate the sentence literally word to word. However, it does not mean that they are allowed to translate the text or sentence as they wish, or the final product will be called as lost in translation. So as shared by Matthew, a graduate of literature and linguistic research, literal translation is applicable only when the translated text retains the same syntax, meaning, and also the same style as the original text. So one of the examples that we found from the novel Hunger Games is in page 76 of the English version, which is excellent. You almost look like a human being now, says Flavius, and they all laugh. So in the Malay version, the sentence was translated as, hebat, kau nampak seperti manusia sekarang, kata Flavius, dan mereka semua tertawa. So it is a good literal translation because it complies the characteristics as stated by Matthew. Next is calque or loan translation. So calque is a special kind of borrowing where a language borrows a word or an expression from another language and translate literally each of the elements. So when utilizing a calque, translator imitates the structure or manner of expression of the source language. So there are two types of calque, which are lexical and also structural. So for lexical calque, it respects the syntactic structure of the target language, whilst introducing a new mode of expression. So one of the examples from the English version of the Hunger Games is in page 74, where it mentions about Venya, a woman with aqua hair color. So the word aqua hair was translated as berambut biru. So according to Cambridge Dictionary, aqua is a greenish blue color, while hair means the mass of thin thread-like structure on the head of a person. Thus, the words aqua hair translated as berambut biru instead of biru rambut, because it may seem off in the context of the target language. For structural calque, this method introduced a new construction into the target language. For example, in the books, the words goodbye was translated as selamat tinggal. So according to Collins Dictionary, goodbye is a phrase used to express good wishes when departing or at the end of a conversation. So consequently, the phrase goodbye was translated from SL as a borrowed expression with each of its elements translated into TL. So in Malay language, selamat is a form of greetings used to wish for others' well-beings or safety, while tinggal means farewell. Thus, the phrase goodbye became selamat tinggal in Malay language, and it was constructed validly from SL to TL, and since both refer to a conventional expression used when parting.
Assalamualaikum and hi everybody, it is my turn now to continue on with the presentation. For borrowing, it is taking of words directly from one language into another without translating. A borrowing word usually italicized to show that it is originally belongs to the SL and considered to be foreign. So the example is as in the table. In the Hunger Games book, Textual bring the meaning of a meager, scarce supply of grain and oil, and the word originates from Latin. In ancient Greece and Rome, it brings the meaning of a small tablet of wood or bone used as a token. Thus, the use of tessera in this TL is justifiable to explain the same meaning of tessera from the SL. Now, moving on to oblique. The type of oblique we found is transposition. Transposition is the process of replacing one word from grammatical word class with another without changing the meaning of the message. Transposed statements usually have a more literary feel to them, and the most important thing is to select the form that is most appropriate to the situation. From an example from the book, Big Day, a phrase in SL is an adjective phrase. It is translated into TL using transposition as it replaces grammatical word class or part of speech of SL. Hari yang penting is a noun phrase, which hari means day and penting means important. Therefore, the translated phrase is transposition from adjective phrase to noun phrase. Next is modulation. Modulation is a change in the POV that allows us to express the same phenomenon in a different way, and it is a translation procedure that divides from the form of the SL and perception. It changes the perception of the audience indirectly, as in the example here. The word undoubtedly carries a negative perception, which if it is translated literally in the TL, it will become tidak dinafikan. However, the translator used modulation to change the negative POV into the positive POV using the phrase that is sudah tentu, which literally means of course. Both SL and TL intended to convey the message that Prim will surely sleep with her mother tonight, no matter what happens. Next is equivalence. Equivalence generally refers to the commonly accepted and used equivalence of idioms, proverbs, idiomatic expression, and lexicalized terms. When using equivalence, the translators have to express something in a completely different way. There are two types of equivalent found in this study, which are functional equivalence and descriptive equivalence. The first equivalence is functional. Functional equivalence is the process by which a translator comprehends a concept in the SL and finds a means to represent the same concept in the TL in such a way that the equivalent conveys the same meaning and intent as the original one. On fire is an idiom which means to transcribe someone who is very excited, but the phrase here, gadis berapi, means fiery girl when translated to English, and according to Cambridge Dictionary, fiery means having a passionate and strong feeling. Thus, the translated phrase of fiery in SL here to gadis berapi in TL coincides, as both of them define the strong emotion of someone. So I guess that is all from me, and thank you. I will pass the turn to the next presenter.
Hello, I am Nurul Farihah and I will continue the presentation to explain about two more procedures found and also our review and the conclusion of our study. Another type of equivalence found in this study is descriptive equivalence. It requires the translator to explain the word, cultural term or element from the source language into the target language. In the English version of Hunger Game book, page 74, we found a sentence that reads, odd vowels, clip words and always a hiss on the letter S. It is translated into vokal yang ganjil, ayat yang pendek dan penekanan bunyi, persis desiran ular pada huruf S. The descriptive procedure occurs on the word hiss, which is an onomatopoeia to represent the sound of a snack. Therefore, descriptive equivalence is used as the translator has given the description of the word hiss as penekanan bunyi persis desiran ular in the target language. The last procedure that we found is adaptation. Adaptation is used in a situation when a word in source language is unknown to the culture of target language. From the findings of this study, the sentence "The head peacekeeper loved white turkey" is translated into "Ketua penjaga keamanan sukakan ikan segar." We found that the translator has used adaptation to translate the word wild turkey to ikan segar, which means fresh fish. This is because the Hunger Games takes place in a nation called Panem, located in North America. And wild turkey is very native among the Americans. It is a common dish served especially for special occasion like the Thanksgiving. However, in the target language culture, which is in Malaysia, we rarely eat turkey, or turkey rarely existed in Malaysia. Instead of turkey, dishes with fish are very common in Malaysia. We have asam pedas, keropok lekor, fish curry and many more. Therefore, the translator has adopted the adaptation procedure in translating white turkey into ikan segar. From our analysation of chapter 4, 5 and 6 of the Hunger Games book in both English and Malay version, we found out that both are very interesting to read as they use simple and straightforward choice of words. We also believe that the novels serve as learning materials suitable for teenagers or adults to learn basic English language and also English grammar. However, we also found some inconsistencies of translation in the target language. For example, the word tributes in source language is inconsistently translated as ufti and wakil in the target language. Another thing is that the word remake center and training center refers to two different locations in the novel, but it is translated into a same word in target language, which is pusat latihan. We also found a mistranslation in page 75 from the sentence that reads for more than 3 hours. It is translated into selama 3 jam, that means for 3 hours, which does not convey the intended meaning of the source language. From our opinion, something that can be improved is to have two translators in translating the book to make sure that the translated version of the target language can be more precise, unambiguous and more presentable to the readers. In conclusion, there are two types of techniques used, which are direct translation and oblique translation. For direct translation, there are 3 procedures involved, including borrowing, calque, and literal translation. Meanwhile, there are 4 procedures used in oblique translation, which are modulation, transposition, equivalence, and adaptation. And based on the researcher's observation on the overall translation procedure used in the whole novel, literal translation seems to be the most used procedure by the translator. And regardless of any types of the procedures used, the translator need to do a proper research and reading before translating in order to make sure the correct semantic meaning of the source language is conveyed to the readers through the target language. So that's all from me. Thank you.